Hi, I'm Steve with Beyond Barnwood, and today we're going to install an accent wall. So for this project, we thought Barnwood would be perfect. Not only do we have an open wall that we can cover the Barnwood with, but we have this large mantle that's very rustic, cool looking. We've got this Barnwood door that kind of rolls here that exposes the fireplace. But when you look at the wall by itself, it's really just kind of drab. So here we'll be able to actually use the Barnwood to just bring a little more warmth to this room. And for this wall, our Barnwood's perfect because you have a textured wall, and peel and stick is not going to work here. So having a nice screwed in option is going to work perfect. In order to install Barnwood, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a saw, which can be a miter saw, circular saw, or today we're using a table saw, a tape measure, power drill, trim head screws, a pencil, and possibly a stud finder. Once you got everything you need, the first thing you want to do is mark your studs. It's going to make everything a lot easier for you. Here, we've already done it. For these ones, we marked on 16 inches. Most studs are going to be on 16 inches, somewhere between 16 and 18 depending on the house and how well it was built. The easiest way to do that is to just go to the corner and measure 16 inches over and run a test screw. And the test screw, if it bites, you know you've hit a stud. From there on, you should be able to measure 16 to 18 inches over and mark where all of these studs are at. If for some reason you're having a hard time finding a stud, you can use a stud finder. When using a stud finder, you want to put the stud finder where you know there's not going to be a stud. Press and hold the button and slide it over until you get to a stud, and it'll light up indicating where it's at. Now we're ready to get started doing our wall. The first thing you're going to want to do is actually cut off the first part of the tongue here. And the reason why that is because you're going to be putting the board up against the wall, and you're not going to want that gap. You cut that off here, start at the bottom, go from left to right, and stack as you go up. In this instance, we've got a mantle, and the mantle sits just a little bit higher than the edge that we want the Barnwood to sit. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay our wood down here, we're going to mark this, and notch the wood out just a little bit, so that way it stays snug here to the brick while maintaining the right position going across the mantle. So if you see here, we cut the tongue right off the board, so it's ready to go right against the wall. And we notched our wood just a little bit to sit well with the mantle, so that when it goes up, it notches in nice and tight. When screwing Barnwood into the stud, there's one really important tip. You're going to want to place your screw right here into the tongue at roughly a 45-degree angle, coming down. That way you don't break the tongue off of the board when trying to stick it to the wall. Since we ripped this side right here, we went ahead and ripped this board the same size so that it fits nice with the mantle. When you go to put the board in, it's pretty simple. You just line up the groove, the end match there, slide it in, come over to the other side, push it in a little bit, make sure she's snug, zip in your screws. No need to worry about ending on a stud because everything is end matched. When you get to the last board in your row, all you want to do is measure from the wall to the board. Here we got 46 and 7/8. When you measure your board, make sure you're not measuring from the tongue, but you're measuring from the face of the board. Not here, but here. Take your 46 and 7/8 measure that you just got and mark your board. In every box of Barnwood, you're going to notice a random length, or maybe a few, and these are your friends, and here's why. In this instance, it's almost perfect 12 feet from here to there, which means if I was to start another board over here, my seams would line up. And if you want your seams to be staggered, so with this board, start with one of your random links, put it here, and now your seam is here. When you go to start second row, normally what you would do is you take the remainder piece on that end and start over here, But in this instance, since it was almost exactly 12 feet, we're gonna use our random length. In this scenario, you would just wanna cut off the tongue, just like you did in the first row, to start your second row. So now we're gonna go ahead and repeat this process all the way up to the final row, and we'll show you what to do there. We're now on the last row. And in the last row, it's just a little bit different because unless you're insanely lucky, you're gonna have to cut off the top part of the board in order to match where your ceiling is. So an easy way to do that is to basically get 2 measurement points on one on one side of the board, one on the other, just in case that's not 100% square. So what we do is we just come up here, measure from the front face of the board to where, in this instance, we're gonna go right up, butt up right against this trim. Get your measurement. In this instance, it's 5 3/8 here. And we'll just go ahead and measure over here just to be safe, just to make sure nothing drops down. And this one, ooh, it's good that we did that. This one's just over 5 1/4. Let's go cut this board. Now, because you don't have a tongue here, you can go ahead and just, they call it face nailing, or in this instance, face screwing. But we're gonna go ahead and put a screw on the front face to make sure that that stays down. Okay, our installation's done. Took just under 2 hours, only 2 boxes of wood, and it's all good to go. So if you follow the steps in this video, you should have no problem livening up your space.